Welcome back to Falcon Blues TV, you filthy animals. Your second part with Paul Mcgann is coming up, and it's basically about his film career, and there's a lot of really great stories that I very much enjoyed. We do go back briefly about football as well. However, before we start that, I do have to point out I am doing the Sleep Out at Bramley-Moore, or Hill Dickinson, whatever you want to call it, on the 10th of October. And in the description below is a link for our Just Giving page to raise some money for everyone in the community and for the homeless. Now, some of you might know I've done this previously at Goodison Park. However, this one's going to be a lot colder, and it's for a great cause. Everyone in the community do a great job, and we're trying to raise some awareness and money for homeless. So if you can spare a few quid, great. If you can't do it, don't worry, just share the page. But anyway, please enjoy the second part with Paul Mcgann.
Now the first
About
one's
show
going to
business.
Yeah, first one's going to shock everyone because they're expecting me to ask about Alien 3 or Withnail and I. And the first question I'd like to ask about is Empire of the Sun. What was it like working with Christian Bale at such a young age?
Yeah, amazing. He was 12.
Yeah.
He was 12. He was the lead in the film. No, lovely. He was just like sharp as a tack. I think what helped was that Spielberg was a child himself. Actually, I can remember sitting one day where we were shooting this. Where were we? Down in Spain. And then one afternoon, I'm sitting by this wall in between, setups, and I can hear them, behind me over the wall, and it's Spielberg talking to the kid, and he's saying to him, something like, remember last week when we were in that the day and we shot that thing, and John said this and you did that, and the kid's going, yeah. He said, well, this afternoon we're gonna do the next bit, and why don't we surprise him? Why don't we try and surprise him? And the kid said, yeah, okay, well, why don't I? And they were like hatching little thoughts, like a pair of kids. I remember that. I remember that's how he did it. That's how he got. And Christian Bale's a fantastic actor, but that's how he got a tune out of him even at the age of 12. But the spirit of Spielberg was, he's a big kid himself, and Christian was just weirdly. I mean, the role that at least I started with when we shot the picture. For anyone that's read the book, I played the cavalry officer who, in the book, the child, it's a friend of the kid's family, sees this pucker officer, sort of literally looking up to him and how shiny he is and handsome he is, all this kind of thing. And then later on, he sees him completely wrecked, after the deluge. And so that was the role. But once we started shooting, Spielberg shoots another thing entirely, and some of us, like me included, although I was there for 3-4 months, I think I was probably only in the film in the end for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But we shot these scenes nevertheless, so I shot scenes with Christian, with Spielberg was on, okay, look, just make it up, we'll you improvise this, the kid's looking up to you and this, so I did get to work with Christian then, and anyway, long answer to your question. He was fantastic, tireless, and what a start to a career as well. I mean, he literally carried the picture at age 12, and he's repeated it. I mean, he's carried loads of pictures since, but what a debut! Fantastic actor. When you think, fantastic actor. I think as well, as I remember, I could be wrong, but as I remember, it was really near. We were nearly going away to shoot it, and they still hadn't found a kid. Wow. And I think Christian was the friend of somebody from the production, and it got really like 11th hour before they found it. But in the end, they got lucky and found it.
Yeah, they found a good one, didn't he? He didn't have a bad career, did he?
He's not bad. And apparently really nice, I mean, he was nice then, but I was reading about him last week, how he's using his wealth and his influence. He's setting up some foundation, isn't he, in some village.
Not about that.
What I mean?
He's had for 20 years as well.
There you go. So he's solid. He's a good one. Good on him.
Yeah, good on him. But next question I do have to ask is about Withnail and I. Now, your co-star Ralph Brown alluded to this as well in our interview. Were you sacked by the director for like 3 days?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Tell us about that, please. Because what happened and how did he bring you back into the fold?
How can I tell it in short version? I went to see him. I went to the agent said, "Look, go to this address in West London. There's these people there. They're shooting this thing about Whistler." You know, I'm thinking, okay, well, that's, you know, Whistler, of course, is this American artist, and that, but yeah, that's about right. You know, back in those days, there was lots of pictures of Merchant Ivy kind of thing, you know, set in the Victorian era. I thought, oh, that'd be another one of them. Anyway, Whistler bollocks. I got to this place, and Bruce Robinson was there, and they're all in this room, and I don't know that I even took my coat off or even sat down, and he's saying to me, okay, yeah, great. Like, I've got the gig. You know, this is like, none of us has ever been in a picture either. So, you know, I'm standing there going, I've done a bit of telly, but never been in a picture. You know, being in a picture is like, it's like playing in the Premier League. And now he's, you know, he's making noises like I'm thinking, wow, okay. I didn't know what to say. I'm a bit embarrassed. I mean, so then he said, do you mind staying? Stay for, I think it was a Thursday, or it was a Thursday. He said, do you mind staying while, like, other lads come in for Withnail and you can maybe read with them? And I'm going, okay. And which I did for that day, maybe some of the next day. And it was the next day that, when that next day was over, and yeah, I'm right, it would have been a Friday. So we're looking now at the weekend. And as it's all folding up, and all these Withnails have come in, you know, there's Ken Branagh and there's Eddie Tudorpole, and probably Richard must have come in. And then we got to the end of that second day, and I'm sacked. You know, the casting agent said, "Look, it hasn't worked out." So I'm gutted. And now, anyway, so I phoned the agent and I said, and she was furious and got me back in, but it was the weekend. So, and on the Monday, so she said, "I'll call you back." Calls me back and said, "Right, you're going back in on the Monday now to audition now for the job that you didn't even audition for last week, but they gave you it anyway," kind of thing. So I went back in on the Monday, and I read for it then with Richard Grant. Apparently, the reason that he fired me, obviously, because must have been, I don't know what I was doing, reading with these Withnails, but it freaked him out, and he didn't like the Scouse accent. He told me. Okay. And I'm saying, well, oh, okay, well, you should have said, I can do anything. Anyway, we had this, and so I went in on the Monday and got the job that I was set. But unbeknownst to me, of course, the PS in the story. So that really happened. Anyway, when I went in on the Monday and I read for about a minute, he said, all right, kind of thing. And so then I had the job, and we shot the picture. But not before they'd offered, on the Friday, they'd offered it to somebody else, another actor, who turned it down.
Do you know who the actor was?
I do indeed, yeah. And he's a friend. And he turned it down. He didn't like the script. Anyway, and that's true. Yeah. He had objections, I'll just say, to the script. And fair enough. And he turned it down, which is lucky for me, because then I went in. Otherwise, he'd have done it, not me.
I can't imagine anyone else being in those roles now, though, you know, like, because you've seen it that many times.
I don't think, it's hard. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. And, you know, the films we love and the thing, you know, you can't imagine other people doing them. But, you know, as you know, the fact is, loads of actors get seen. The ones you end up seeing doing it. Yeah, of course, you know, they're the ones you associate with it. The fact is, any actors could have done it, but it's us. We did it. So, and you know, Ralph and me and Richard Grant, none of us had ever done a picture. So, and Bruce Robinson had never directed a picture. So really, I think the vibe of it, the feeling, I know when we shot it, the spirit that we shot it in, which I think explains the reason why it's as good as it is. is that really none of us knew really what we were doing in
Yeah.
a good way. In a good way. I think I mean, Bruce had been in pictures. He'd been an actor. He'd been in a bunch of pictures. So he'd been on film sets. We'd never been on film sets. But I think in the way that you're not that naive ever again. You're not that naive twice. That the kind of open-hearted way that we made it, that we were, was, I think, partly explains the reason why it's so good. I think, the reason why we were so good in it. And we just sort of, kind of thing.
No, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. I remember telling Ralph, it was only a few months ago, the Everyman Cinema in Liverpool, every Sunday, whether it's like Blade Runner or Alien, or like an older type film or Goodfellas, they showed Withnail and I, so I went, I want to watch that because I've never seen it in a cinema. And the one thing that stood out for me was, like, my brother got me into it, watching this film. It's very comedic and stuff, but the real somber and sad scenes in the cinema, like at the ending, it was really sad. And even though I've watched it several times,
it's the saddest film.
But when it's in a cinema,
it's so true though. We another unusual thing. I can tell you, if you didn't know, no one rehearses for films. You can't rehearse for films because you can't afford it. When are you going to rehearse? They've only got the money to shoot it, so you don't rehearse. You just turn up and do it. That's making a film. Because we were naive and we were cheap. He got us to rehearse for a couple of days before we shot that film. We rehearsed a week before we shot it, and he had us to himself. And Ralph came in as well, and we were. And in that rehearsal room, I remember him, Robinson, distinctly saying to us, "Lads, there's no jokes in this, right? So don't play it like it's like." There's no punchlines. You play it like a punch, and I'll punch you, kind of thing. There's no jokes. Play it for real, and we'll see what happens. He said, "I'll tell you what'll happen." He said, "If I have my way, and that's how you do it. That's how, and we do it right." He said, "This will be the saddest, like you're saying, the somberest, saddest film." And he said, "People, what people are going to do? They're going to laugh at it, and they're going to wonder why they're laughing at it." And they're probably going to wonder, a lot of them are going to wonder so much why they laughed at it. They'll have to watch it again to figure it out. And now, of course, down the years, I've met people that have watched it 20, 30, 40 times. But that's it. That's it. It's bleak. Look at it. It's about the end of everything. There's no set pieces in it. There's no violence in it. No car chases. No women in it. It's weird. It's a weird one and a weird, sad thing. It's about and yet all we hear is how funny it is. Humans are weird, aren't we? The way and it's not alone. It's like the blackest black comedy, and that's there's a few other films I know got other favorite films like that, but that tends to be like a strain. If you can get that right, the proper black comedy, that's a really good thing. People love it. Gallows humor and
I know one person who loved it was David Fincher. Because obviously he cast yourself and Ralph Brown. I said to Ralph, it was like he wanted to make Withnail and I in space. But he wanted Richard Grant in it as well, didn't he? To be Charles Dance's role.
Did he? Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
You can watch footage of Richard E. Grant auditioning for it on the DVDs. And apparently the producers were like, look, we know it's your favourite film, but you've got two of them, you can't have another one. And it went to Charles Dance in the end. He's not a bad actor either. But
I never knew that. I can't believe that. I never knew that till today, till you told me that. Yeah, I never knew that. But now it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. But that film particularly, obviously we love it. Ralph. Every time I speak to Ralph, it's like, wow. Although it's 40 years next year since we shot it. It's never gone away, and of course it's a lovely thing to be associated with. Each time I speak to Ralph, he'll mention it. What a lovely thing to have happened, and and particularly for us to have been that we're in it. It's like now, obviously, most actors, don't watch things they're in. Why would you bother? It's like Googling yourself. That way madness lies. But I've seen that now a few times. Ralph and I, when there was a transfer, when they did a digital transfer maybe 10 years ago, there was a new print, and we showed it and we saw it again. So every now and again we'll see it, see it on a big screen like it's meant to be seen. And you keep seeing new things in it, different, really subtle things in it. It's a really, really clever film, superbly written, put together, and shot. But with a real heart. Lovely things to have done, actually. And it's had a life of its own. I don't mind telling you, I got a card from Christopher Nolan. I'm only because we're talking about it, right? Don't think I wouldn't normally like name drop, but only because. So Nolan sends me. I've never met him, but I got a card through my door a few months back, and it's his wife's having a big birthday. Can you please sign this Withnail poster, kind of thing? So they're all out there. It's nice knowing that. It's nice knowing that. There's other artists, there's other filmmakers. There's fans everywhere. Yeah. Long may it continue. But yet, if you can, maybe explore the possibility of getting Richard Grant to talk about footy. I would pay to hear that. I've got to say, to hear him wax about football. Maybe I'd be really surprised. Maybe he will. Maybe he can. Maybe he's maybe he's an expert. It's a conversation, but like I say, it's a conversation I don't remember ever having with him.
I can't imagine being a football fan, but as we discussed, I reckon it'd be Fulham or Chelsea or.
I know he lives in West London, so yeah, I fear it'll probably be Chelsea.
Hey, look, I'll try. No, he can only say no. He can only say no. But speaking about David Fincher, he's obviously a big fan of Withnail and I. And he's cast both yourself and Ralph Brown in Alien 3. Now, I've got a copy, of Empire magazine from about 1991. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Paul, but they did a set visit. And you've got Sigourney Weaver's being quite diplomatic, going, yeah, well, there's a few issues. David Fincher's just being very honest, talking about the issues. Then it comes to your quotes, right? And it's Boss. It's great. Do you remember this?
No.
So the article starts with, it goes, it's left to Paul Mcgann playing Gollick to spell things out in a way that only Mcgann can. It goes on to say he's met you before. These are your quotes, if you don't mind me quoting yourself.
No, I can't wait. Go on.
There are more producers around here than actors, he tells me. I wondered who the hell they were at first. It's like having an extra fucking audience for every scene. You can't get a clear picture of who wants what. It gets changed as we go along. I don't know what to do in here. Rewriting some of the script, getting in the way. Fuck knows. But films are a mess. I'm in the only fucking film which is shooting in England. The situation is getting dire with this recession going on. We're going to be down to one cameraman and one sound crew in this country if we aren't careful. Now it carries on. You say, I don't do crap films, knowing it. It's going to be crap. I work with people. If they are good, then fine. I thought this would be fantastic. It is fantastic, a fantastic eye-opener to how Hollywood movies operate. Now,
well.
Yeah.
What side of the bed did I get out of that morning? Jesus.
Well, to be
it's
fair,
kind of nice. I tell you what's good. It's nice to hear, or refreshing to hear something, or see something in print that's unmediated. Normally, that would have been tidied up, and because that, you know what. I apologize for the bleakness of the language. That sounds like me talking. It sounded like me talking then. It sounds as well like it's right in the middle. As I remember it, right in the middle of the trouble that we were in. I say trouble; it's all relative. The fact is that Ralph was on it as well. Of course, we had to shoot it twice. So it meant that, which is great in one sense, and we all got paid twice. So no complaints there. So that's for some context. What I'm saying, it might sound like a bitter little boy in the quote just now, but we were enjoying. We were weeks and weeks and weeks at Pinewood, and it was difficult. But it was the one who was in the eye of it was Fincher.
Yeah,
he ended up having the picture taken off him.
I know. Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, and what's the word? I mean, really, there's nothing worse that can. And he was the youngest person in the room usually most days. What was he? 26, 27? So you know, so it didn't end well. But it's kind of nice to. It's good to hear that because it sounds authentic at least. Because we turn up particularly in the middle of it, where Fincher was really getting it in the neck.
yeah.
From the high ups, and trying to bless him, he was trying to shield us from it and just shoot something good, which he did. But anyway,
Now,
I'll probably sound a little bit ungrateful, which is the only thing I take issue with. But because I was grateful, but nevertheless, that does sound like me talking.
to be fair, I'm a big defender of that film, especially the 2003 version, the extended version. Now, they asked David Fincher to be involved, but he said no. But he said, go and speak to this producer, and he'll try and assemble what I was trying to do. Now,
Yeah.
I did ask this to Ralph, but the one who gets shortchanged the most is your character, Golch. You know, a whole plot is cut out of the film. And speaking to Ralph, the reason being was one of the main problems is they did a test screening in California, and they didn't like the whole element of the alien getting caught and then got your character Golach releasing the alien again. And apparently David Fincher turned around and said, you've just done a test screening in California for a couple of teenagers who smoke pot. Why'd you care what they think? That was one of his arguments. But how did you find out, and how did you feel once you seen the film theatrically?
I've never seen it.
Really?
No, I've never seen it.
Wow.
Again, which is not unusual, you know, unless there's a reason, unless you go to an opening, yeah, you know, and you're doing PR and that, which is usual. But that film was mired in all kinds of ill feeling,
Yeah.
so that's probably the reason most of us didn't. There was no opening for us, so I ended up not seeing it. But ever since, and frequently, I'm hearing, particularly doing you know, going up and doing, say, the fan shows, the conventions and stuff. You know, I was talking to people who've seen the picture, and so I'm getting updates, and I feel like I've seen the other film, the other version, you know, because I've had it described to me so often.
Yeah.
And I was aware that Fincher, you know, didn't want to be involved in it, and rightly so. I mean, the way that he was treated. Hey, listen, he should worry. He was David Fincher, you know, and he's done okay. But it was an education, you know. Also, you're talking about Empire of the Sun before. I'd shot that a few years before and had a similar experience, of course, where I'd been on the thing for months, ended up in the picture for minutes. So that was the second time that had happened. So it felt like, and they were both major American pictures. Firstly, I didn't take it seriously personally. Well, you know, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just show business. You know, you might end up in the final cut. You might not. It's just one of them things. I was disappointed though. I'd like to have. Yeah, because I was told immediately that now they've cut all that stuff out. You know, but even while we were doing it, Ralph probably explained to you. You know, we were shooting. I think we shot. I remember a day where we shot three different endings.
Yeah.
Ripley's death, you know, stuff that was never going to be used. So it was kind of a lot of speculative, I suppose, shooting. But an education, nevertheless. Fincher was a genius, a great filmmaker. And when I went to, I'll tell you a story, when I was sent to Pinewood to meet him, a bit like before when I was sent to meet Bruce Robinson. It's like, you know, go on, get up there, 1 o'clock, get up there, meet this David Fincher. And I got to Pinewood, and I'm chatting to this, I'm in a corridor outside the offices, and I'm chatting to this young lad, and talking about pictures. And then he says to me, he says, he stopped me talking. He said, "Are you waiting for me to take you in to meet the guy?" I said, "Well, yeah." I thought he was the lad that got you from the car. He said, "No, I'm the guy." It was Fincher. He was younger, and he was younger than me. and I was in my 20s, or whatever it was. So there was that anyway. So having this, having this, like I say, he was in his mid-20s. We'd heard about him and how he'd come up through, the George Lucas and Industrial Light and Magic, that kind of thing, how clever he was. And when we were shooting it, again, forgive me if Ralph's described it, but Fincher, a bit like yourself by the sound of it, he was a cineast. He was a film lover. He was shot through it, like we hear Tarantino is having worked in a video shop. Fincher was the same. He could talk films like, Mike Tyson could talk boxing. Knew everything. Knew all about everything. And so some days, particularly in the days where it was a bit fraught, we'd go in and Fincher would say, well, right, what is it, Tuesday? Today's like, and he'd make it up. He'd say, right, today's John Ford Day. Meaning we're going to shoot it like a Western. Whatever we shoot today is going to be like a Western. And then the next day it'd be a Hitchcock day. And then the next day after that it'd be like a Kurosawa day. It was that just to keep us buoyant, to keep us, and we were having a laugh doing it, And I remember the day where he said, it's a Friday, and we're there, and he says, right, Friday. Now, boys, have you ever seen any of them Alien pictures? And I go, yeah. Because the bit where someone running down a air ventilation shaft and the monster comes down. I'm like, oh yeah. He goes, it's today. That's it. That's today. So we shoot the scene where, someone gets their head bitten off and you get covered in gore kind of thing. So we were like, but that's it. That's it. It's play. It's like the childlike thing. Again, it's like Spielberg was and is. The best filmmakers, particularly the filmmakers that are good, are deft and clever at dealing with actors and being with actors, know that it's all about just play. Let's have a play and see, And Fincher's apparently always been like that. That's how it was.
That's great.
Despite my rant from 1991.
Well, that was great.
I'm glad you like rant from 1991. Postcards from the madhouse.
Later on, I'll try and send you some pictures of it. I'll email them to you. But I'll find the clip of Richard E. Grant as well, auditioning. But
no, I never knew that. It's funny. Yeah.
Small world,
We tend to look the other way. One of my brothers auditioned for Doctor Who, and when I ended up getting and you can see that on YouTube as well. We went in on the same day. He didn't know. I didn't know. It happens. Not until years later did we find out. Oh yeah, because there's 4 actors in the family. I can tell you, years ago, we decided, we had a confab and decided, right, we don't talk about acting when we're together. We don't talk about work. A, it saves time. B, it saves, whatever, save feelings, whatever. So consequently, and ever since, I never know what they're doing because we never, when we talk, we don't talk about work. My mum knows. My mum's like information central. So it's like, what's Stephen doing? Oh, you got to ask your mum kind of thing. So that's been so somewhere there's a video of our Mark auditioning for Doctor Who and me auditioning for Doctor Who. Yeah.
Because I believe that was in '96, was it, when you did the? To my recollection, it was done in America as well. It was meant to be the start of like a new.
It was a telly pilot.
Yeah,
it was a pilot. It was a straight pilot. Yeah, it was a pilot. You know what a TV pilot is. You shoot it, and if it's successful and it gets picked up, you do a series. That's what that was. So the idea was then, that was early '96. The idea was that by the end of the year, they'd start shooting a series. Doctor Who would then, migrate to North America. We shot the pilot in Canada, in Vancouver, and
Eric
which is
Roberts,
why we would.
Was he the villain? Was he the master?
Eric Roberts was the villain. Yeah, the master. Yeah, he was great. But when I did that, when I got involved in that, Doctor Who had been off the telly. The BBC had got rid of it 5 or 6 years before, at the end of the 80s. So it had gone. So it was like what the Doctor Who fans now call the wilderness years. Right? It makes me laugh. I mean, that's Churchill. And anyway, So we did that, and again, because it's showbiz, and it was a pilot. It's the only pilot I've ever made. It's the only time I've ever signed to do a pilot in the States. So while you're shooting it, and as well, because they tell you, 95% of pilots never get picked up or made, and this one was no different. But of course, you can't shoot it in that spirit. So while we were making it, it's like, yeah, great. So when we come back in October and when we do the series, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And that's how you got to. Obviously, you got to be optimistic. So we shot it, and it just didn't happen. So that was that. So I was effectively Doctor Who for 6 weeks, 30 years ago, on the telly. And even since, although I've been involved in it all that time,
You've been involved, yeah.
On the screen, yeah. And I'm like I'm the 8th Doctor. I'm like Doctor number 8 of now presently. What is it now? 14, 15. I've been on screen under 2 hours in all that time. Under 2 hours. So like,
who was after
it's all
you?
on audio.
Was Christopher Eccleston after you when they rebooted?
10 years after we shot that, in 2005, it came back. It came back, but it came back in the UK, and that was 2005, and that was Chris Sack. Yeah.
See, I always remember these are whatever anniversary it was. They had one where it was like David Tennant was in it, Matt Smith, and then the ads
would have been the 50th. It's 50th anniversary.
What's his name from a? They had John Hurt. They went, John Hurt was another Doctor you never met, and I was like, well, why didn't they just use Paul McGann? Because he was Doctor Who, and then because Christopher Eccleston turned it down, like I think he had a big falling out. But I was looking, I went, John Hurt weren't Doctor Who. Not against John Hurt, by the way, great actor. But I remember going, why wouldn't they just use the, like
no, the thing is,
only enough,
I don't even know, but when one of my under 2 hours of screen time, some of it, 6 minutes of it, is a sequence that John Hurt's Doctor, the War Doctor, is in. And we did that and I was excited because he was my hero, John Hurt. I mean, he's one of the reasons I became an actor in the first place. When I was a kid watching him on the telly. Anyway, so we shot that, and he was this War Doctor. So where's it going? I don't know where it's going. I don't know what. No one really knows what's going to happen next. Shooters decided not to. Yeah, I mean, it's gone past 60 years now. So, but the next bit of Doctor Who, I don't know what. None of us is quite sure what. It's where it's going, or what it's going to look like.
I'm sure it's got a big enough fan base. It will have a future. Whether Disney Plus don't want to carry it on, I'm sure BBC could fund it again. I'm sure Netflix would be interested. There's a lot of rumours circulating from what I've read.
There is, and it's like, there's still a big audience for it. Like I said, we do these shows anyway, these fan shows, so we know that. And weirdly, that's the last word on it. Is that 30 years ago when I did that pilot in North America. The function of the pilot. The reason we shot the pilot in North America was that the producers were convinced that there would be an American audience for it. That'd be enough of an American audience for it. But as it turned out, there wasn't. But in the interim, in the years since, that's where the audience is. Now there's a huge audience for it in the States. So I don't think it's going anywhere, but quite what direction it takes next. I've got to say, and the fans are always saying to me, Paul, you're still alive, man. Why don't they just, which is technically true, why don't they just, why don't they give you this spin-off? Why don't they, And I say to them all the time, look, I've never even met Russell T Davies, but why don't you probably, you write to him, write to him and tell him that's what you want, and if I can tell you now, if they offered me a little spin-off or something to do, of course I'd do it. Of course I'd do it. It'd be great. I'd have a laugh doing it.
Well, there you go, viewers. Get your emails out. Get on to Russell T Davies. Start emailing them. Start tweeting them.
Exactly.
If you want to happen, make it happen. But I've got one final question, Paul, about films, and then I've got to be done because I'm being told you're going too long and whatnot. But now I've only read this recently, but you were considered for GoldenEye to be 007, James Bond.
I've never in all my life heard that.
Really? Yeah. I'm going to send you that as well. Apparently, is it the Broccoli's, the ones who produce Bonds? They had a list of actors, and like Pierce Brosnan was there, and your name was on it. They said you were considered to be Bond in 1995.
But I mean, it might be true, but you know, lists of names are just lists of names.
Good list to be on, though.
If it's true, yeah. I mean, slightly weird. I know. I think it's more likely that it was our Joe.
No, it was definitely Paul. It was definitely Paul McGann. I remember. I'll send you the article, but yeah, apparently you were on a number. You know, like a couple of people you were looking at, and it was Paul McGann.
That's quite funny.
Yeah.
Why they would want me to be James? Anyway, to be James Bond, who knows?
It's been quite a learning day for you, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. It has, yeah. A voyage of discovery.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to finish up, but however, before we go, I do believe you're doing a stage show in Somerset next month, Paul, with your brother Mark, and it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, next weekend. Well, our Mark, as of course you know, back in the day played John Lennon.
Yeah.
On the stage at the Everyman, on film, he went to the stage. Of all the actors that played Lennon, Mark, considered, he was the one kind of thing. Anyway, even now, and particularly when the Beatles Festival comes up with the Beatle Week, which was a few weeks back in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Mark tends to be on. He gets a gig, and there's it's a week of stuff. Mark had a gig at the Everyman, and a few months before, I've been saying to him, because when we were kids, we used to sing together, and the last time we ever sang together, we all worked together in a musical, the four of us.
Oh wow!
I'm talking now back in '82. It's that long ago, 40 odd years. We were in a West End musical together. That's the last time Mark and I would have ever sung together for an audience. And Mark's carried on singing. I just didn't. And we were having this conversation. He said, "Right, come on." He said, "I'm going to get you into this." So it was Mark's idea. He got me into this. He brought me on halfway through this thing, and we sang some numbers. This was a couple of weeks ago at the Everyman, and it was great. It was just great. And like I say, it was the first time he and I had sang together for decades. And now we're going to repeat the show. It's called Mark Mcgann in His Life. So like that Lennon thing he talks about. Anyway, it's a bunch of songs, and Mark speaking, and we're doing it in Frome where he lives. And then let's see what happens. I can tell you that I was it was a lovely feeling, and it was great to sing my head off again. I hadn't done that for years. I've got to say, if there's any singers out there, right? We were all singers. We just grew up singing. So any singers out there that haven't sung for ages, stop putting it off. Just do it. Just get up again and just do it. It's a fantastic feeling. I mean, people kept telling me, and Mark kept telling me, I can still hear. He's going, look, it changes your molecules. Just sing it. Sing it. I don't know if you sing yourself, but it's one of them things that you do. There's something to do with your breathing. You just feel great after it anyway. Whatever, wherever it is, whatever it's for. So that was the buzz of it. So I'm looking forward to it. We're doing it again on Saturday. And it's at the, what's it called? What's the theatre in Frome called? Oh, that's Saturday. I can't remember the name of it.
I'll tell you now.
What's it called?
I'll get it off, I've got it here. Yeah, let's see. BBC have kicked me out. Hang on. So it is going to be in... Oh no, saying that he just reprised it. He played it in the Royal Court Theatre. He's played it in the Everyman. Where is the actual one for this one? Doesn't even say.
Oh, I'm really.
It says Somerset. Merlin Theatre.
Yeah, the Merlin Theatre, and like I say, it's his adopted hometown. Mark's lived there for years. That's why we're doing it there. Me, Mark, and Mike Neary, who of this parish as well, Liverpool. The three of us are going to do that, so I'm looking forward to that. So if you can get down there, if you're nearby, come and see it. But yeah, happy days.
Happy days.
And
Paul,
let's hope it's happy days after next weekend.
for one of us or a draw.
Remember the cop out and the toffee woman. Remember at the top of the Echo.
Yeah.
Maybe let's touch base. A week or so from now and see what did they used to do when there'd be a draw back in the day on the old Pink Echo. What would they do?
Something like that.
Is that what it was? Because whoever won would be like jumping up and jump through hoops, wouldn't they? And if you lost, you'd be slumped. But if it was a draw, it was just like neutral. Anyway, watch this space.
Watch this space, because I know Ralph has agreed to come back on the show when we next play Brighton at the Amex next season, or next year. So, Ralph, Paul, if you're not too busy next year when Everton play, I'm not sure when the reverse fixture is, but if you're not too busy around that time, we'd love to have you back on to discuss the Merseyside derby. Maybe I can give you some more facts about things you've not known.
Fill in some gaps in my life, you know what I mean, that I've forgotten. For me. Yeah, no, I'd love that. I really would love that. When would the return be? It's going to be spring, and it'll have to be. Actually, no, it might, because the mirror fixtures. That means it's going to be end of January, isn't it? Or which would be weird.
I think I've got March in my head. I don't know why.
But that would be unusual, wouldn't it? Because
for that long.
Because it's in the first 5 games, so it's going to be. It'll probably be January, early Feb, wouldn't it? When they turn the fixtures around. Strange. Midwinter.
No, it's late. It's late. It's the 18th of April.
I don't understand. I don't understand the fixture list. The fixture computer, anyway. Anyway, well, you know what? You're on. I'd like that. Let's talk then. Because I'm sure much will have happened in the interim. And listen. I hope you have a really, really good, solid, enjoyable season. To go with the new stadium and everything else, because you deserve it. I think, and the fans enjoy the football. You know what I mean? Because that would make me happy, and I'm a Red. You know what I mean? So, but there you go. Good luck, Paul.
Yeah, good luck, Paul, as well. But as always, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the link below. And as always, up the fucking toffees, Colin Chong. Paul, that was great. Really enjoyed that. Thanks very much.
Me too.
Yeah.
Speak